Still, I rise. Today, we're going to talk about the dragonfly and the journey of becoming. Last year, I got a tattoo that says, Still, I rise. And next to the words is a small dragonfly. The dragonfly is a symbol of transformation, of light, and the courage to rise again. When I look at my tattoo, I'm reminded of the deep waters that I've been through and how I've come out stronger. I've changed, I've grown, and I've learned that even when life feels heavy, that I can still rise, lighter, freer, happier, peaceful. My tattoo reminds me that still I rise. Sometimes life feels like too much. Maybe right now for you, life feels overwhelming. You wake up and you're already tired. You have 100 things on your mind, caring for family, managing health, catching up at home, holding yourself together emotionally, demands at work. It's like the weight of everything sits squarely on your shoulders. Even when you get a moment to yourself, your thoughts don't rest. You might feel behind, scattered, or guilty for not doing more. You might feel invisible, like people don't really see who you are on the inside. Or you might glance around at the cluttered corners of your life and think, what happened to me? I've been there. But you know what? Even through all of that, you are still growing. Even when it doesn't look like progress, even when nobody else sees it, even when all you've managed to do is make it through the day, you are still becoming. You are still rising. And that's exactly what the dragonfly teaches us. Before the dragonfly ever flies, he lives most of his life underwater. He grows unseen without rushing. Then one day it climbs a reed. It sheds the skin that once protected it, and it takes the first fresh breath of air. That moment, the breaking free, the rising up, the spreading of wings, is what transformation looks like. The dragonfly doesn't just appear in the air one day. It climbs, it struggles, it sheds, it pauses. That's rising in real life. Small, steady steps that eventually lead to freedom. It doesn't rush. It doesn't compare itself to the other dragonflies or the other bugs. It trusts the process. Maybe you're in a season like that. Life feels heavy. Progress feels slow. You feel like you've been underwater, caring for others, feeling exhausted, waiting for something to shift, but unsure how that's going to happen. And the dragonfly reminds us that it's okay to be in progress. It's okay if you're not soaring yet because you're still rising. So here are some lessons that we can learn from the dragonfly. First is transformation and change. The hardest part of change is that it rarely feels like progress while it's happening. But the dragonfly's story is about transformation. And it doesn't resist the transformation, it allows it. Change often looks like the small, imperfect steps. It's clearing a corner of a room that has felt overwhelming for days, weeks, months, years. It's cooking a simple meal even when you're tired. It's showing up for yourself with kindness instead of criticism. Change doesn't have to be dramatic in order to be real. It just needs to be consistent. Sometimes we hold ourselves back thinking, if I can't do it all, why even bother trying? But the small steps are what get us moving. You don't need a huge burst of motivation. You just need to start right where you are. One drawer, one walk, one meal, one moment of self compassion at a time. And that's transformation. That is rising. And here's the best part, you don't have to have it all figured out to transform. The dragonfly shows us that you can spend a long time in the depths and still rise into something beautiful. The second thing it teaches us, it shows us lightness and joy. Once the dragonfly takes flight, it moves with lightness and grace. It doesn't carry the weight of where it came from. It doesn't drag its old shell through the air. It darts and it glides and it shimmers with color. It sparkles. Freedom looks like not being weighed down by the things that used to hold you back. And my hope for you is that you also find a sense of lightness because you've carried so much for so long. Responsibilities, worries, the shoulds. You've held everyone else's needs, often putting your own last. And it's no wonder you feel tired. It's no wonder that joy feels hard to reach sometimes. Lightness begins when you let go of the guilt. You don't need to prove your worth by doing more. You don't need to earn rest. And you don't need to fix everything today. Lightness is choosing to breathe, to notice something beautiful, to laugh even when life is difficult or complicated. It doesn't mean pretending that your life is easy or that your pain doesn't matter. It means releasing the things that no longer serve you, like guilt and self-criticism and the need to be perfect. Maybe you've been hard on yourself lately, feeling like you don't measure up or comparing yourself to others or their journeys, or believing that people only see your flaws. But your worth is not tied to how you look, what you get done, and what others think. Lightness is what happens when you stop fighting yourself and start showing yourself compassion. You can still be deep, emotional, and caring and live lightly. You can hold space for others and still make space for yourself. And you can love fiercely and still rest without apology. When you begin to believe that, when you release the weight of expectations, including your own, then you're going to notice how much freer it feels to live. And the third thing is perspective and clarity. Dragonflies have nearly 360-degree vision. They can see above, below, behind them, a full perspective of the world around them. And when life feels overwhelming, for us, it's easy to focus on what's wrong, the mess, the bills, the appointments, the things that didn't go the way we planned. But stepping back helps you to reveal the bigger picture so that you can begin to see what's right instead of what's wrong. Maybe the season that you're in is growing your strength. Maybe waiting is building your patience. Maybe the struggle is teaching lessons that you're going to need later. Perspective doesn't erase the pain, but it does bring peace. You're able to notice what you've survived, the strength that you've built, the love that you've given. Perspective helps you see that progress is always visible. Sometimes it's happening quietly inside. The dragonfly reminds us to rise above the noise and to look at our life not from criticism, but compassion. Instead of saying, oh, it's too much, what if you said, I'll do the best I can and let that be enough for today? Or when things feel overwhelming, what if you asked, what if this is part of the process of becoming stronger, wiser, and lighter? Perspective isn't going to change your circumstances, but it is going to change how you move through them. You don't have to have it all figured out to start seeing differently. Just a small shift in perspective can help you rise a little bit higher than you were yesterday. And number 4, the dragonfly teaches us resilience and faith. Dragonflies may look delicate, but they're strong. They can fly through the wind, they can change direction instantly, and they can adapt to different environments. And that's what resilience looks like. It's not pretending that everything is fine. It's showing up even when it's hard. Resilience is not the absence of struggle. It's the strength to keep going anyway. You've been through more than most people know. You've cared for others even when you were running on empty. And you have kept showing up when quitting might have been easier. And that is rising. Resilience isn't about being perfect or positive all the time. It's about grace. It's about forgiving yourself for what didn't get done. It's believing that your worth is not tied to productivity or appearance. It's choosing to continue even when it feels hard. You've risen before and you'll rise again. Strength does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers, I'll try again tomorrow. Rising is choosing to get up after being knocked down, forgiving yourself, and believing that you can try again. Not because you've never fallen, but because you have fallen. Some days, rising might mean just making a balanced meal. Other days, it might mean sitting quietly for 5 minutes and allowing yourself to breathe. Both count, both matter. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be today, and you are rebuilding. Now, when the dragonfly first comes out of the water, its wings are wet and fragile, and it has to sit and wait in the sunlight and let the warmth of the sun strengthen them. And this is key. The waiting is necessary because without it, the wings would tear. And then when it's ready, when it has done the waiting, then it takes flight. And even then, it's still a little bit wobbly at first, uncertain as it learns how to move through the air. And then soon it finds its rhythm and it glides with ease. And that's what rising looks like for us. When you start something new, a habit, a boundary, a healing process, your wings might feel a little bit shaky. You might not feel like you're ready. You might doubt yourself. But with time and light, you grow stronger. You find your rhythm. You rise lighter, freer, and stronger than you were before. The first flight is not about perfection. It's about courage. You don't need to have it all together before you rise. You just need to trust that your wings will hold. Still, I rise. So that's the meaning behind my tattoo. Not that life is easy, but that even in the hardest seasons, I can rise, even through deep waters, even after struggle. I've changed. I've learned to rise again, lighter, freer, closer to who I'm meant to be. And so can you. You might be in the middle of a hard season, carrying more than anyone realizes, but there's something inside you, something unbreakable that knows how to rise, even when you're tired, even when it's messy, even when you don't feel ready. Maybe you're shedding the old and stepping into the new. Wherever you are still rising. Even on the days you feel stuck, even when no one else sees it, even when it feels like too much. You are becoming stronger, braver, and more grounded in who you truly are. And you know how I know that? Because I watched you grow. I've watched you refuse to give up, and I've watched you rise. So when you doubt yourself, when life feels heavy, remember the dragonfly. You've been through the dark, you've grown in silence, and you have shed what no longer fits. And don't forget, you don't have to do it all at once because transformation takes time. And no matter how many times you've fallen, you can always rise again. Still, you rise, and you will again.